Welcome to another episode of Life and Whiskey. As always, I'm Jordan, and as promised, here we go. We're going to do a tin cup, the American whiskey. This is their original release. Now, I thought they were making their own product, and they might be, and I definitely didn't research this, so I have no idea. But I'm going to read this real quick, and that kind of leads me to believe that maybe they're not making their own stuff. So it says Tin Cup Whiskey is a blend of two great American whiskeys, each aged in number 3 charred oak barrels. High rye bourbon distilled and aged in Indiana, so that's an MGP product, most likely, is blended with a small amount of Colorado single malt whiskey. So because they say Colorado single malt whiskey and they are in Denver, that leads me to believe that it's not their own product, because I would believe that they would say our own product if that were the case. And then they're cut with, Colorado, Rocky Mountain, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, so it's an American whiskey because it's a blend of a high rye bourbon and an American single malt. It is sitting at 750, sorry. There we go, 42%, so 84 proof. Now, I did kind of comment on this on the rye whiskey, and I'll comment on it now. I gotta give them credit for this. This is a great marketing ploy. This little tin cup that you can drink out of or whatever, just because, as stupid as it is, it's still kind of cool. And I will also say that this neck makes and mouth makes an easy pour. I do like that. And the glass, the bottles themselves, they're super hefty. They're embossed with all the different stuff. It says Tin Cup has their logo. It says cut with Rocky Mountain water. It says Jess Grabber is the founder of Tin Cup. There you go. I mean, just a well done product. And this little bit, and I should have said it on the rye whiskey too. I mean, that's just kind of, it's pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. It's a good little fiddly bit to have on a bottle. Now, I picked this up in Cody, Wyoming. Wife and I tried it there. We both thought, or no, actually, we tried it when we were in Pinedale. Both thought that it was a really nice whiskey. Let's see if I actually put this in American whiskeys. There we go. Tin Cup paid $26.98. Call it $27 at the Walmart liquor store there in Cody, Wyoming. And I would say most places that I've seen this, it's been over 30. Typically between 32, 35. I've seen it for 39. They do have a 10-year. I'm not sure if it's a bourbon. I think it is, but I'm not sure. Which may just be a source bourbon for all I know. I'm not going to talk on my butt too much on that one just because I didn't even look into it at all. But on the nose, I get that single malt. I'll call it a funk. It's a slight vomity smell, sourness, just slightly, but it's mostly sweet, sugary notes, a vanilla, almost a sweet, creamy caramel, and a hint of cherry, and a little bit of that botanical that you get from rye, which makes sense that it's a high rye bourbon that's in there. Depending on how high of a rye, I mean, it could be, 51% corn, 48% rye, and 1% malt or something like that. I doubt it, but, technically it could be. On the taste, the taste is impressively good for what it is. Now, as I said with the rye, I wrote Tin Cup off as being crappy whiskey that was gimmicky, that wasn't going to be anything that I was even remotely interested in. Now, having tried it, I'm actually glad that I bought it, and I'm also really glad that I got it at the price point that I did. Is it worth more? If you were paying in the 30s for it, I'd say there's a lot better bourbons you could get in that same price range, along with like a Michter's American whiskey. I have not reviewed that one yet, but here locally, it was only in the store for a short time before it was sold out, but it was selling for like $38 or something like that. So maybe would be more inclined to have something like that, but it's smooth. The flavor profile kind of had no spiky notes to it. There was a little bit more ethanol to it in a good way than what I was expecting from a 42% or 84 proof whiskey. It was a lot of sugary sweet notes up front, and then it finished with a little bit of tannin and oak. Boy, that grain maltiness coming out now. It's if you've ever smelled Highland Park, it has some through line notes that are similar to that. A little watery thin, sugary sweet, vanilla, a rich caramel, some oak, actually a hint of cherry in there, and it finishes with just the slightest tinge of black pepper and rye spice. There you go. So it's not changing up on me a lot, but man, for the price, it's pretty darn good, and it's way better than I expected it to be. So if you haven't tried it, I'd say this might be one to look at. It's a pretty good introductory to American whiskey. And American whiskey as a category doesn't get a lot of play, but I'm going to suspect that in the couple of years to come, it's going to become a dominant category along with American single malt due to the fact that there is currently yet another problem in the whiskey world. There is a shortage of barrels, and the cooperages are limiting supplies of barrels to different distilleries. And so you're going to see a lot of companies have to switch gears and start doing a product that is in a used oak barrel. And that limits you to an American whiskey or into a single malt. And I think you're going to see those things kind of take place here. If you put it in this year, 2022, give it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, you're going to be down the road a little ways, but by 2027, 2028, I think you're going to start seeing those markets really explode. And it's a good thing, because the problem with bourbon is the category is so narrowly, it's not a problem, but an issue with bourbon is that it's such a narrowly defined category that you have to meet such strict criteria to call it bourbon, is that it doesn't allow for any room for experimentation, really. And so to get out of that, if you start looking at American whiskey and stuff, the category is a lot more wide open as far as aging, finishing, mash bills, all that stuff really opens up, and so you can experiment a lot more. And I think you're going to find that category really explodes in the next couple of years. And not that there's anything wrong with bourbon, but a lot of people have just locked in on bourbon. It's like, oh, it's a bourbon, it's American, it's whatever. And that's true. But as you've heard me gripe about in videos past, because it is such a narrowly defined category, now I must have, 80 bourbons back here. And I would say you could probably put 20, you could probably make 4 groups and put 20 in each group, and you wouldn't be far off as far as flavor profiles. And trying to identify one to the next, I would bet you'd have difficulty doing, because there's not a lot of variation. Now, if you start doing single barrels and stuff like that, you'll find that there's more variation in it. But as a whole, as a category, bourbon is pretty much bourbon. And American whiskey, I'd say you can't say that about. You're going to find a lot of new things coming. So something to keep your eye on going into the future. But boy, that just went cherry and grain dust in the nose. Man, the sweetness coming out of this, the vanilla, brown sugar. And it's like the first 3/4 of the palate on every sip I've taken. Very, very nice. They've done a very good job with this product. Good job blending it. I highly recommend it. So if you can find this for under $30, I'd say it's a must buy at least once to give it a try if you're a fan of whiskey. Drop in the comments down below what you can find a bottle for in your area. As I said, here it was, or not here, but in Cody, Wyoming at the Walmart nonetheless, was $26.98. And I think here in town it's kind of in the $27, $28, $29 range. But yeah, check it out. Drop in the comments down below if you have any experience with it. I'd be interested in hearing what you have to say about it. Also, anything else you have to say, throw it down there. I get to most of the comments since there aren't a whole lot of them. And yeah, as always, thanks for watching. You have yourselves a great day. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with anybody who you think might find it interesting or beneficial. And I think that's all I got to say. You guys have yourselves a great day. We'll catch you in the next video.